On the 1st of December 1955, a black woman named Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat on a full Montgomery bus. She sat near the middle of the bus, just behind 10 seats reserved for whites. Soon all of the seats on the bus were filled. When a white man entered the bus driver insisted that all four blacks sitting just behind the white section give up their seats so that the man could sit there. Miss Parks, who was an active member of the local NAACP, quietly refused to give up her seat. By her single, unplanned act of defiance, she caused a chain of events that concluded with a United States Supreme Court decision prohibiting bus segregation and King's rise to national prominence. She was arrested and convicted of violating the laws of segregation known as Jim Crow laws. Mrs. Parks appealed her conviction and thus formally challenged the legality of the segregation. During that time of segregation was still enforced, especially on buses. Bus drivers had just about the same power to enforce segregation on their buses than police did.
White passengers had filled the front of the bus. When I got on the bus, the rear was filled with colored passengers, and they were beginning to stand. The seat I occupied was the first of the seats where the Negro passengers take as they on this route. The driver noticed that the front of the bus was filled with white passengers, and there would be 2 or 3 men standing. He looked back and asked that the seat where I had taken, along with 3 other persons, one in the seat with me and 2 across the aisle, was seated. He demanded the seat that we were occupying. The other passengers very reluctantly gave up their seats, but I refused to do so.
This incident led to the Montgomery bus boycott that was done with the hopes of segregation laws would be discontinued.
Get out of my seat.
No, I'm not getting out of your seat.
Why not?
I deserve to sit up here just as much as you do.
You belong in the back.
I'm sick and tired of having you white people treat me this way. I dare you to go find someone that could take me out of here.
Oh, I will. Officer?
Is there a problem here, ma'am?
Yeah, she won't get in the
I
back.
deserve to sit up front. I'm tired of this.
I'm gonna need to ask you to step out of the bus, ma'am.
The Montgomery bus boycott, a significant event in U.S. civil rights movement, was a political and social protest campaign against racial segregation on the public transportation system of Montgomery, Alabama. The campaign lasted from December 1st, 1955, when Rosa Parks, an African-American woman, was arrested for refusing to surrender her seat to a white person, to December 20th, 1956, when a federal ruling, Browder v. Gale, took effect and led to a United States Supreme Court decision that declared the Alabama and Montgomery laws requiring segregated buses to be unconstitutional. Many important figures in the civil rights movement took part in the boycott, including Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. and Ralph Abernathy. African Americans made up 70% of riders on the bus, so when African Americans boycotted the bus systems, the buses took a major loss. On November 13, 1956, the U.S. Supreme Court upheld the federal court's ruling declaring segregation on buses unconstitutional. The Montgomery bus boycott was officially over. After the Montgomery bus lines realized they had suffered such a serious blow from the boycott, they began to make changes such as illegality of bus drivers to call African Americans names and the entry of buses into areas that were highly populated with African Americans.
Equal rights for all. We will overcome. Equal rights for all.
Hey, break it up. Break it up.
The Greensboro sit-ins were a series of peaceful protests in an effort to end racial segregation in the southern United States. On February 1st, 1960, 4 black college students, Joseph McNeil, Franklin McCain, David Richmond, and Azelle Blair, sat down at a whites-only lunch counter at a Woolworth's in Greensboro, North Carolina. Despite urbanely requesting service, the students were refused it, and the manager of the Woolworth store requested that they leave the premises. After leaving the store, the students told campus leaders at Agricultural and Technical what happened. The next morning, 29 neatly dressed male and female North Carolina agricultural and technical students sat at the Woolworth's lunch counter. The protest grew the following day, and on Thursday, white students from a nearby women's college took part in the protests, which expanded to other stores.
You will have to leave now. You have to leave right now. Alright, I'm gonna have to arrest you both. I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men were created equal. I have a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia, the sons of the former slaves and the sons of the former slave owners will be able to sit down together at a table of brotherhood. I have a dream that one day even the state of Mississippi, a desert state sweltering with the heat of injustice and oppression, will be transformed onto an oasis of freedom and justice.
When we allow freedom to ring, when we let it ring from every village and every hamlet, from every state and every city, we will be able to speed up that day when all of God's children, black men and white men, Jews and Gentiles, Protestants and Catholics, will be able to join hands and sing in the words of the old Negro spiritual, free at last, thank God Almighty, we are free at last.